You're listening to Let Me Tell You Why You're Wrong, all on Georgia Radio Network.
Welcome to episode 98 of the Let Me Tell You Why You're Wrong podcast. The sultry voice in your ears belong to me, Dave Roberts. With me is my podcast partner in crime, Jessica Salaji.
Hey, Dave. What are you hiding in your pocket over there?
We have a special guest, the Ed McMahon to my Johnny Carson. It's Matt Lowe.
What up?
Really? That's all you've got?
I mean, that was a hell of a build-up. I actually cut Jessica's intro short.
We waited 20 minutes for you to get your together, and that's all you've got?
I've got what up?
So get ready for a few minutes of I know, right?
Right?
This is our first episode of 2020. Happy New Year's, kids.
Happy New Year's to you, Dave.
What's your New Year's resolution, Dave?
I don't make New Year's resolutions. I could say quit drinking and quit being an a-hole on social media, but that's just not going to happen. Why let myself down? How about you, Jessica?
I guess just to be a better version of what I was last year.
I don't know if that's possible.
Oh. Matt? More kids?
I'm kind of, no, I wish I could have more kids, but my wife doesn't want any more. I'm kind of like Dave in that I typically don't do New Year's resolutions. However, I was listening to an interview with Pete Alonso, who is a home run derby winner, and he said he doesn't complain, and then kind of went on to expand upon that. And I thought, you know what, that's not a bad way to live life. You know, like he doesn't complain about things like when it's cold. You know, he's like, no, it's cold. You know, because no, it's cold. So he tries to go through his life and not complain about like normal everyday things. So,
No, I have said I'm the richest man you know.
I mean, I've said many times, if I had that Dave Roberts money, I wouldn't have to go to work.
It's not what I have, it's what I don't. Kids.
I'll see if you measure that richness by kids. I'm the richest guy you know.
Yeah.
I don't have a lot of wealth, but
or looks, or intelligence.
Please.
Speaking of, Matt, you have some news for us?
Yeah, So you caught me mid sip.
Typical.
Well, and I've upped my beer game too. But anyway, yeah, I've decided to make a run for the Paulding County Board of Commissioners chairman. That election season, I guess, is kind of underway, but it really doesn't officially start until qualifying week in March. But we're putting together our campaign team, and we're going to make a go at it.
And it really was about the worst kept secret in Paulding County until you got an email from a member of the press, and you sent it out to us in a private message, and I put some really thoughtful response for you, and you said, I just told him yes.
Well, I did, and it was funny because had I thought to, hit you guys up about a response before that, I would have used your response, but I mean, this was 15 or 20 minutes after the fact, so.
Oh,
but
wow.
Yeah, he was all.
15 minutes.
No, I'm talking about 15 minutes after I had already, had the exchange with him.
Patience, my child.
Yes, young grasshopper. No, I wrote something out about that. It is an open secret. You haven't announced. You haven't declared anything. You haven't formed a formal organization. So a formal announcement would come sometime in March. Instead, you said yes.
You know what? That's just the way I am, though, Dave. It's a simple answer. It was direct. It was direct and simple and honest.
Oh, you're simple.
Honest. It was honest. Yes.
It was honest.
So, what's your platform?
Man, I am solely concentrating on the budget here. We have, man, it's a mess. Everything about the county, they say that we're running as lean as possible. And I was looking over the 2020 budget, and we're like, I don't know, $30 million, running $30 million a year more than we were in, say, 2012, or if you go back to 2008. But they keep referencing how the county managed to cut services back in those lean years. And so I'm kind of looking at it like, why don't we cut those services now? We could do without them then. Why can't we do without them now? So really, that's kind of the approach that I'm taking, is looking at it from the standpoint of what's the proper role for the government here? What can we do without? And see if we can't start adjusting these property tax rates down.
That'd be a fresh look at it. What do we need? Is like when we had the shutdown, and it said non-essential government employees don't report. I'm like, well, why do we have non-essential government employees?
Right. I floated, in just talking to some of the people online, I floated, closing parks and libraries and just getting rid of those departments altogether. And I'm surprised at the amount of resistance that's met with. So, as an alternative, I offered up maybe running parks with a user fee. And that way, if the people really want it to hang around, it will. They'll go use the park. If they don't, it'll go.
Well, the last park I was in, I was there to vote.
Right. I think we used that shiny new park out in Mulberry Rock for my kids' Eagle Scout thing. But that was an enclosed building that we rented from the county and whatnot. So, but I can't remember the last time that I took my kids and we went to any of the parks here in the county.
Or library, for that matter.
Yeah, right. Why do we go to the library? We have Google.
The Google machine.
The Google machine.
Are you going to give every child a computer?
No. No, that's their parents' job.
I'm just teasing.
I know you are.
But that's the answer. Everyone. I totally agree. It's the same thing with college. That'd go down a rabbit hole, but we're charging a fortune for college when half of what we're learning in college is on the internet for free.
Right.
And it's the same concept. I love books, but the books I love, I've purchased.
Right.
Or, I don't know. It's
A library is where homeless people go to pull up porn.
These are Dave's opinions and not the opinions of All on Georgia.
All right, in full disclosure, who's on your campaign team?
Dave is my campaign manager. Mike Tack is my treasurer. I tried to get Jessica to run my social media, but since it would be during session, she had to decline because she was like, I would fail you horribly.
True.
Oh, I know exactly how busy you are for those 40 days, which are really stretched out over 90 or whatever it is. But
not even that. We're not in session yet, and Jessica, after we get done recording, has to knock off and get up first thing in the morning, she had a meeting the day, like the first Tuesday or first Thursday of the year.
I saw that.
That was on purpose. Like, they did that by design to keep people from coming because kids are out of school and schedules are off, people are out of town. And the incredible part of it is that over 100 people showed up.
I saw that. You said it was getting a little rowdy in there, too.
Yes, so, I mean, I'm all for that. Like, stick it to them, because that was a crappy thing to do. But yes, everyone was like, you're doing it at 9 a.m. on January 2nd? Okay, we'll be there. Like,
right. We're off anyway. And we're going to bring our loud kids.
That's right, exactly. So
what was it? Was it Statesboro?
No, it was Screven County, and they're fighting a landfill, like a regional medical waste, coal ash, toting, sewage storing landfill. So.
Well, you know, and I will say that I think both Matt and I voted for our current chairman.
I did.
Dave Carmichael, and I like Dave. I do. I think he is a little too fast and loose with the money. So we have a very wide chasm between us in the role of government. But to sit down and talk to Chairman Carmichael about his kids, or about the Marine Corps, or whatever else, he's a hell of a nice guy.
Oh yeah, super nice guy.
He's a good dude. He's a legitimately a good man. We have a huge disagreement about the role of government, even at the local level, and it's not a personal attack on the chairman. It is that I truly believe that Lowe will have the taxpayers back. And it's funny, on one of the Facebook pages that we're all members of, someone popped up and says, "Oh, I don't know Matt Lowe. When they get in the office, they change and they want to spend money." And like, people who don't like you personally were chiming in saying, "Yeah, you don't know Matt Lowe."
Right.
You're speaking out of turn here, because he is a budget hawk. It was somebody else that you've had not personal, but political disagreements when you were running for Georgia House. Like, Matt's a troll on social media, but if he saw corruption, he would scream it from the well.
Right.
Matt, have you ever been in a fight on Facebook?
No, I don't get in Facebook disagreements. Especially on political boards.
Right. It's just not the right forum for that kind of discussion.
Right.
As I was saying before we recorded,
you ignorant slut. For those people who don't know, Matt tried to call me that one time and failed miserably, and it was advice of Dave to do it, and it was terrible.
He didn't deliver it. You delivered it better than he did. Like, Matt said in passing, like, a friend of mine says, "I call you an ignorant slut," and Jessica's like, "What? Why?"
I have a hard time calling women sluts. Now, I call Dave that. I could call you that. Wouldn't bother me at all. But.
Yeah, don't pick on the girl.
Right.
Well, no. Okay. And we're going to cover a little of this in a couple episodes when we go to 100. I told Matt, I said, he says, "I'm going to debate Jessica tonight." I said, "Okay. When she beats you, because she will, because she's smarter than you are, just go ahead and pull the Jane Curtin thing. It's Jessica, you ignorant slut, and deliver it deadpan, and then you just go and just fail miserably, and then called me out on it."
Yeah, I did. Though, to be fair, I didn't know what movie you were referencing at all.
It's not a movie. It was Saturday Night Live.
No, okay, that explains it too. The only time I'd ever heard that was actually Neil Bortz and Bob Barr in a debate, and Neil said, "Bob, you ignorant slut," in that. Which, now that I know kind of where it came from, makes a whole lot more sense now. It was funny.
Yeah, Saturday Night Live has that little news right in the middle of it, and it was a segment they did called Counterpoint, and I believe it was Aykroyd who was talking to Jane Curtin, and they were talking. I can't remember what it was, women's lib or something like that. And they started off real nice, and they started getting uglier and uglier, and he finally just took his glasses off. He's like, "Jane, you ignorant slut." Which, speaking of, if anybody has not seen the Eddie Murphy Saturday Night Live that was on a couple weeks ago, really good. Like, they've remembered how to be funny.
Matt, will you be having like a campaign theme song, maybe some Taylor Swift or something?
No, somebody today suggested, is it Lil Wayne? Get Low?
Yeah, because nothing is going to make you look less white than trying to nod your head along to Lil Wayne.
Right?
You could not possibly look whiter at that point. You'd be translucent.
Be so white I'm blue.
I was thinking Pink Floyd's Money. But, you know, among the things we've talked in the campaign, one is that the doctrine that the Board of Commissioners has now is essentially Field of Dreams. If you build it, they will come. Well, they keep building and spending our money, but they're not coming, because that's a really... I love that movie, especially at the end where you find out that what he really wanted was to play catch with his dad. Love that movie. It is not an economic development plan.
Right.
It's a beautiful movie. It's not exactly the way that a county should be run. So, Matt, before you drop off, and now we've taken 10 minutes into 15.
Right.
Do you have any thoughts for us going into your campaign? The answer's no.
Way to put me on the spot, Dave.
The second worst candidate ever.
I know. This is the second worst candidate. Yeah, no, my answers are short and direct. Sorry. Not all wordy.
Yeah, well, first worst candidate was Brian Dobbs. You and I both worked on that campaign.
Right.
He actually knocked on more doors for his opponent than he knocked on for himself.
Yes, he did.
Will you be asking for the endorsement of Chris Sevier?
Absolutely. Not really, no. He wants to serve me with a subpoena for federal court for something.
I thought the statute of limitations ran out.
Did it? I don't know. Do they run out on... What was it he was saying we did?
I don't know. I sent him a copy of the show the last time we mentioned him, and he didn't say anything back.
He blocked me.
Didn't he? Isn't he currently tied up with some child support thing where like he was in jail for a little bit for non-payment?
Probably.
He has somebody else
Allegedly.
who's sending out the same legislation repackaged into anti-child trafficking, special forces of liberty attorneys.
Oh, yeah, I do remember seeing that crap.
Yeah.
No, that was a joke about seeking his endorsement. I think he's kind of a giant douchebag that really doesn't understand the role of government either.
How very political of you.
Right.
Call somebody a giant douchebag.
It's Chris Sevier, so there's that.
I mean, we had to give up the loser of the week because it could always be Chris Sevier.
Or the Attorney General.
Oh, Chris Carr?
Yeah. Yeah, he spoke at my kid's graduation, high school graduation. And it was, oh man, it was funny. I wanted to vomit the whole time.
Second worst candidate ever. He wants to pick a fight with the sitting attorney general. Matt, before you do any damage to the campaign,
Thanks for joining us.
thanks for coming on, brother.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Good
Technical
God.
difficulties and all.
Yeah, I mean, it really reminded us of what it was like working with Matt because we started 20 minutes late.
Easy now. I was typically kind of sort of on time.
You kidding me? You would send us texts at the time we were supposed to start with, "I'm heading home now." All right, Matt. Thank you very much for coming on.
Yeah, we'll see y'all.
All right.
Bye.
Riveting stuff there from the lowest common denominator. It was good to have Matt back on the show. Good to have his input, which, is not much.
A glaring or glowing endorsement from his campaign manager.
No, I wouldn't support Matt if I didn't think that he'd be the best possible option for chairman. Matt's a good dude. He's also just what we want as I say a politician, but we want somebody in an elected position that is going to look at something like a guy with 7 kids going, "No, you don't need that." So, getting into the actual show, did you notice some of the laws that took effect last week? No, Dave, I did not.
I was going to say, I don't sound like that, first of all. And second, I haven't bought a new car. I haven't abused any children. And I haven't taken any medication. But had I done one of those things, I may have noticed. Did you notice?
Well, I have not yet. As we record this, the 2020 is a couple days old. So SB 65 lowers car taxes from 7% down to 6.6. Wow.
Well, keep reading.
That means you would save about $100 on a new $25,000 car. However, if you're buying a used car, that number may actually go up.
Why is that, Dave?
Surprise! I'm trying to read it because you put it in all caps, like you're an old person on Facebook. The bill says used cars will be taxed on their sale price rather than their estimated market value. If your used car dealer is financing the car, or if it's a person-to-person sale, like on Craigslist, the used car will still be taxed on the estimated value.
Sounds great.
Well, here's the thing. A 2015, I don't know, pick a model, GMC Sierra could be worth $30,000 if it's, lifted on big tires or anything else, or could be worth $5,000 if the same model has been abused and had the snot kicked out of it. So much of the when you look at a used car value and you look at Kelley Blue Book or anything else, it gives you a range, low, average, and well taken care of. Man, go take it away, Jessica. I'm just gonna sit here and stew.
This is one of those things where it pounced back and forth between chambers during session, and I guess I want to say that they tried to approve it or pass it the year before and it didn't pass, and so they just got it. I may be getting them confused, but my whole thing is 0.4%. Like, that's going to be on campaign mailers.
0.4. I mean, you understand that reps were coming home after they did the income tax cut in Georgia and doing a victory lap like they just slayed the damn dragon.
Well, let's be clear that this was the only tax decrease that was passed, and it doesn't even apply to everyone. I mean, mercy.
No, and I know Giles, when this started to change, when he was on the show, said that I think he said he and his wife would bounce the car back and forth between them so they never had to get a tag. Which I heard, and I literally spoke into the speakers as I was listening to you guys, which is, that's brilliant. But now that you have to pay tax on it every time you do it, he wasn't doing that. But it was absolutely brilliant to do that. Man, 0.4%. I don't buy expensive enough cars for this to really make a difference in my life. I mean, I know you are buying the Escalades and stuff, the $100,000 vehicles, but...
Yeah, I cycle them out once a year, too, so this will probably save me, $400.
I mean, it's impressive. I mean, the Jesus. You were already chastised by somebody for your big SUV in a parking lot, as I recall.
I was. My big SUV, as they called it.
The big SUV totes the toughness, Jessica Salachi.
Yep, that's me.
Oh, Lord. You really do take a good bit of abuse.
Every now and then.
Oh, yeah, every week when we record. You could do so much better than having me on the show. So, anyway, if you need to go and just lavish thanks upon your lawmakers for that 0.4%, just tell them what a wonderful job they did saving you that $100 and $25,000. HB 478, stricter guidelines about who gets put on the Georgia Child Abuse Registry begin January 1. Right now, any offender ages 13 and up are listed on the registry. 478 raises the age limit to 18. Offenders can appeal to remove their name from the list.
I think both of those things are legitimate. I mean, 13, it's awfully young to be on a registry.
You think?
Yeah. I do.
Talk about marked for life at 13 years old.
Right. For possibly, screwing with your own sibling or something,
Yeah, beating up your brother. Which I did. Often. My younger brother and I are 14 months apart. We're almost Irish twins. And we fought. And I mean closed fist, punch in the face fought. We don't anymore because we're both old in our 40s. But yeah, if 13-year-old Dave was caught wailing on his brother, and you're going to call that child abuse? So I think it's a good thing. I think the law that allows you to appeal to have yourself taken off the list is I don't see any problem with that law.
No. I mean, I'm sure there's other things that got caught in it that are not good, but those things that have been highlighted in the media this week they're all right.
Yeah, I mean, good job, legislature. You did something that doesn't suck. Yay!
Broken clock syndrome.
That's it. The Renee Unterman syndrome.
Mm-hmm.
HB 63. Ever want to take a medication, but your insurance company made you try something else? It's called step therapy, and HB 63 allows doctors to appeal that so their patients can have easier access to the medications they actually want to take. It goes into effect for policies started on or renewed after January 1 of this year.
So I wasn't really a big fan of this one. Let me preface. I like the idea because I don't think that laws should dictate when we get medication. But this is just further manipulating. I mean, it's not deregulating in any sense. It's just adding more regulations of what doctors and pharmaceutical companies can and can't do, and insurance companies can't do. So it's just meddling.
Yeah, and I'm going to let my privilege show a little bit here. But there was Connie's got a bad back. She's had the lower lumbar fusion. Her back is a sore subject. Her back's bad. And we were sitting around talking to a backstabber about possible treatments. And he says, well, I'm going to try with the insurance company lets me do this. It lets me do this, or if they let me do that. And I finally told him, I said, look, doc, insurance company is not going to dictate care. If I have to pay out of pocket, that's just the way it is. We're not going to let them dictate our care.
Mm-hmm.
So the government getting involved in this is, and I know, I understand this is Dave's elitism, but I'm not going to, you are in charge of your own care at a certain level. And you can fight with your insurance company. You can get your, in the case of a lot of people, get their employers involved. And if the insurance company is being a bear, they're going to end up losing customers, losing large companies. Now, I know you have to buy off the private market because All in Georgia has not given you your full benefits package, including insurance. But it's the insurance company dictating what you can take. No, I mean, that's going to be largely up to you to push. But I'm with you. Every time they do stuff like this, there's a repercussion. More and more insurers back out of the market. Every time the government gets involved in this, it's not a market solution. And government says, you must do this, you must do that. We start losing insurers. They start backing out of stuff when they're told that they have to cover something.
Yeah. I mean, it's of course, we all want access to the things we need when we need them, but will the access now impact access later? And the answer, like you said about, backing out, the answer is obviously yes. We don't have any insurers in my county and the county next to me. We have nothing. So, the long-term impacts of these things just continue to hurt consumers and patients and end up with a half system that's subsidizing healthcare and another system of cash, so costs are just astronomical. Like, we're not helping anything. And certainly government isn't.
It sure was nice before the government fixed it.
That's right. That is right.
My mother had a breast cancer, and we are so eternally grateful that she got it before these a lot of these changes took effect. Because it was, I hate to call it affordable. She was still working at the time. My mother's in her 70s now. Luckily enough, at the time they were living in Houston and they had access to MD Anderson, which is the place to go. But we're so thankful and just absolutely blessed that this happened before these sorts of changes took effect. Where she had access to care without fighting for it, before, they decided to fix it for us. And we were, I have to wonder if she would have, had the response that she had if there's an insurance company saying, yeah, you can't go to MD Anderson. It's not part of your plan.
Right.
And, and like I said, we're absolutely blessed, and my mom's still with us, and she won't hear this because none of my family listens to the show. They've heard me pontificate enough without listening to the damn show. But, it was, and I've told the story about Connie's back procedure costing us half after she was in the hospital for 4 days for her back procedure. Half would have cost me to have my knee done, and I was in the hospital for 4 hours out of pocket because they fixed it. And of course, the heartbeat bill took effect. Oh wait, it appears it's under injunction from a federal judge.
It is, and it's going to be for a very long time.
Almost like there's a blonde on this show that predicted this would be hugely expensive for the state to defend in court for the foreseeable future.
That is correct. That would be me.
You really do insult the listeners when you have to explain. No, I'm the blonde one.
Well, they can't see us.
Yeah, I don't refer to dudes as blondes.
That's probably good.
I mean, but yeah, you predicted it. You called it. You absolutely called it when you said it doesn't matter whether you like the bill or you don't like the bill. It is going to cost the state tons of money to defend it, and it will never go into effect. Practically never go into effect, and that is what we are seeing. So, we're talking about Lowe being a budget hawk. If you're a budget hawk, I mean, this law is costing us some money. Especially if we could just let Alabama do their law and let them spend their money. We just hang back.
Right.
Just hang back and let that one get adjudicated and then pass our own law.
Yeah. Alabama, just go ahead and take the reins on this one.
Yeah, I mean, they really one-upped us. They're like, we passed the heartbeat bill. They're like, hey, hold my cousin. Let me show you something.
Oh, my.
These are our opinions, and not necessarily those of All on Georgia. And certainly not those of any All on Georgia reporter not offering commentary on this show.
That's right.
I do like the new caveat that you put on there.
Well, listen, I'm going to too many places, and I just don't want to get a Coke dumped on me or a Coke dumped on someone else because of me or whatever.
Oh, my God. That would be a huge mistake.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that'd be a huge mistake.
Yes.
I mean, you want to see 5'4" of fury piss off Jessica.
Well, I told Casey, I was like, you're so, I think I said on here, but she's so gracious. And I've thought about it a lot of times. I just don't think I could have been that way.
Oh, you'd have hung your white trash out in a heartbeat. Oh, hell no.
Why not?
Flying fists and feet.
I'm not a fighter. I don't know what I would just mouth off. I wouldn't be fighting. I'm not a fighter, but
she was shocked. No, I don't want to get, I'm not saying what I would have done in sort of an insult to what she did. No, it was shock. It was absolute shock. Like, did that just happen? I mean, it was shock. I do not mean to imply that you're more of a fighter than she is or anything else, but yeah, we're getting off on the weeds on that one. I certainly am not insulting Casey. If I'm going to insult anybody, it's going to be you.
Thank you for clarifying, because I would not want Casey to think otherwise.
So we got some pre-filed legislation. HB 744 by Michael Walensky.
Yes.
The short of it is that it institutes restrictions on opioid administration by doctors while providing exemptions to patients who are terminally ill, undergoing cancer treatment, post-op pain, pain from compound fracture, receiving palliative care, and a few other things.
So you can already see the problem with it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we're listing who it's not for, which is the worst kind of bill. That whole equitable under the law thing, it'll get you every time. It also, I mean, we've talked about the opioid crisis at length on this show, and for a number of reasons, but when we say that you need to hold the doctors accountable, I don't mean by laws and making more of them on how they should administer care to their patients. I mean, enforce the laws we have that make pill mills illegal.
It caps with a definitive number the amount of opioids a person can receive while under direct care and supervision of a doctor, inpatient, in office, or whatever. It also limits the length of prescription a doctor can write to 7 or 30 days, depending on the case. All right. I'm a race car running the red on this one. The government has no place getting between my doctor and I. No one has ever OD'd on opioids, taking them as prescribed. Not one. No one who is supposed to take a hydrocodone 5 milligram, 10 milligram once every 6 to 8 hours as needed for pain has overdosed on it doing that. Not one. The people who are pill eaters are the kind of people that get prescribed 7 days and they take it all within 3 hours because they are addicts. It's in their DNA. That's what they are. They're addicts. You will never legislate addicts out of existence. All this does is make access more difficult for people who need it. And I mentioned Connie earlier with her back. She has, prescriptions for muscle relaxers and for pain medication. It's not something that she takes, 10 times a day, but her prescription is for a month because it is irretractable pain. And if you ever, people with back problems, that's just the way it is. I certainly don't want to see her suffer and honestly have to take more time off of work to go in every week to justify getting a new prescription.
Yeah, more oversight is like that. Oversight of the patient is not the problem. A doctor's either handing out prescriptions or they're not.
And people who aren't in pain management don't understand. And I hate it. I mean, I hate it with a fiery passion because they treat her like an addict. What I mean by that is you have to go in and get drug tested. Mm-hmm. And it's not just testing to see if you have drugs in your system, but it's making sure you have the right amount, that you're not getting prescribed an opiate and then selling them. It has to be in your blood, but it also is making sure you're not doing heroin, weed, and everything else. That this prescription is being taken as prescribed. We already have this. The opiate companies are not making addicts. In fact, if you are an addict, this sort of legislation is what has you running out and buying what you think is heroin, end up being fentanyl and killing you. Mm-hmm. So, and, listeners to the show know that, this year I lost my brother to an opiate overdose. But he didn't get it being prescribed. He was a damn addict. He was a scumbag junkie that ended up dying because he's a junkie. And that's what happens. And he didn't get it. He didn't get what killed him from a doctor. He got it from somebody else. And this is no law would have saved him. So this is really feel-good legislation so that our reps can come back to us and say, this is what I'm doing to combat the opiate crisis, which I think is overblown anyway. So it looks good on a campaign mailer. And make no mistake, there's a reason this is in a campaign year.
Yep, I agree.
Sorry to suck the oxygen out of the room on that one, Jessica. That's that's one of my hot, I don't like playing a victim card or anything else, but this is one of my hot button topics that bothers me to no end when they make these addicts out to be victims.
Well, I mean, your perspective is valuable because, you've had different experiences than most people, so of course you should take it away.
Yeah, just give me the soapbox. Yeah. So, House Minority Leader Bob Trammell has filed legislation that would take away the salary of public officials who have been indicted by a grand jury. This is in response to, guess who? Insurance Commissioner Jim Beck, continuing to receive his $120,000 a year salary while he is suspended and facing federal charges. So, obviously, if he's a minority leader, he's in the Democratic Party, and their bill probably isn't going to pass. But I am glad that he brought it up because I think there will be some Republicans, maybe not, maybe because it's election year, now that the Loeffler thing and the other Senate are all on the ballot, maybe we'll just go hardcore, partisan lines. But I think that there are enough people
that can force this conversation. And I think it's a conversation that needs to be had, and the legislature wouldn't be the final say. It's two parts, so it would be a constitutional amendment, and it would be one that I actually support because, it's the type of thing that is actually supposed to be in a constitution, which is limiting the government, not the people.
I would like to see a caveat to it that if you're exonerated, if they drop the charges, if you go to trial and you're found not guilty, that your pay is reimbursed. I'm
fine with that.
Yeah, I'm coming at it from a regular criminal justice side of I can imagine being falsely accused, losing my job, losing my income, having no means to fight it, and then being found not guilty, and then in the case of Jim Beck, which 3 years, you just lost $360,000 plus whatever you had to pay your attorneys.
Well, the argument is that, and the argument, who's making the argument changes based on who's in power at the time that something like this happens. But the argument is, well, then any time that someone we don't like is in office, we'll just have federal charges brought against them. And,
No.
Well, first of all, I know that, but here's another option. Like, this doesn't have to be all or nothing. I think there are a lot of people who would be content with 50% cut, 60,000, or even the median average income for Georgia during the time that you're suspended. And it's not about, yes, it's absolutely about innocent unless proven guilty. But in terms of this, it's about the best interest in the taxpayers, and the taxpayers have to pay an interim person as well. And maybe we don't pay the interim person 120, maybe we pay them 60,000 as well. And then, you've got 50-50 and the taxpayer. But right now we're paying $240,000 to have an insurance commissioner. And honestly, it still sucks.
God, I love you listen to you talk, and it still sucks.
Yeah, you're welcome.
No, but I'm with you. It's not a light switch on and off. It's a dimmer switch. We can find the right balance of where it needs to be. I would like to see the pay escrowed, and it would be surrendered if convicted, or accepting a plea bargain. But and you and I have discussed this before. You can indict a ham sandwich in state court. The feds do not do that.
Sure, I agree.
Jim Beck has been indicted by the feds. The federal prosecutors are very concerned with batting average. They don't indict unless they've got something. They're not just looking for, you to plead out. This is, they got you. If you're indicted in federal court, I mean, you're in deep doo-doo because they already have the case.
And the only caveat I see to taking away 100% is that, depending on the stage someone is at their life, they may not be able to get another job, or they may not have another job or savings or whatever. And, the rest of us, when we are charged with a crime and if we lose our jobs, we're forced to go, work in the fast food industry or clean houses or do whatever it takes to make ends meet. So it's not that. I'm just willing to concede, and I hope others are, so that there can be an actual dialogue about it, that it doesn't have to be 100% for this to be better. But giving them 100% while they're on leave doesn't work in our best interest, and that we matter. They don't, because they asked for the job.
And remember, the salary is a portion of what it costs to employ somebody. And this is as a business owner. For me to pay you $50,000 a year, it costs me about $75,000. Mm-hmm. So there's insurance costs. There's obviously taxes, unemployment. There's all sorts of stuff that goes into employing somebody. So when we look at just the number of 120, that's not all encompassing of what it costs to employ. I'm guessing it probably costs about $1.50, $1.60 to employ the insurance commissioner. I think there's a happy medium. I think they'll find something somewhere. I think it's obviously a knee-jerk reaction to this one case. The interesting thing is it comes from a Democrat, but I think it's going to cross party lines.
I hope so. But...
Rolling on, we've got HB 743 by State Rep Billy Mitchell, which changes how Georgia's college athletes can be compensated for their name or photo.
So, obviously, this is something that's been discussed for forever. I personally don't like the restrictions, but at the same time, you choose to play.
And you know what? Here's where I am on it. The NCAA can have its own restrictions because they're a private organization. We don't need laws. There doesn't need to be any law saying that the state forbids you from paying a college player. That's not the state's role.
That's right.
The state has no role in this. If the NCAA is going to, and look, I'm totally with, I own my face, I own my image, and I own my autograph. It doesn't belong to anybody else but me. It's my image. So I understand the civil angst and using my face, my jersey number, even though the jersey belongs to the school, but using my face and my image in video games that make millions upon billions of dollars. I understand the angst. That's a civil case. That the state has no role in that. I think it was Todd Gurley that got in trouble for autographing jerseys.
Yep.
It's his autograph, and I'm a Gator. You know, it's not that I love Todd Gurley, but it's his intellectual property. It's his autograph. So I don't. But that's a civil case to me. It's not something that should be written into the Georgia Criminal Code. And tell me why I'm wrong. It's the name of the show. I got nailed on a Facebook fight the other day about how we agree on too much stuff.
Yep. Whoops.
HB 875 by Darshun Kendrick. House Study Committee on Financing Options for Cannabis-Based Businesses.
No.
Another study committee. And look, we're pretty...
On something, no. Like, no. The state has no. This is something that's already an issue at the federal level. Like, you can't just... You're studying something you can't regulate.
876.
Oh, good. We moved on.
Yeah. I mean, look, yeah, you nailed it. I mean, yeah, no. It's study committee anyway. It's just wanting to turn it into a year-round job. Again, Rep. Darshun Kendrick. United States Congress enact legislation removing cannabis from the Controlled Substance Act. Jessica, is this what we want our state legislators wasting time on, telling Congress what to do?
No. And I'll go ahead and skip ahead just because it's exactly like this, but Senate Resolution 538 by Senator Steve Gooch condemning the impeachment of President Trump. I mean, we talk about this every session when they're doing this kind of stuff that has no teeth. They're not doing other things, but this means they have too much time.
Right. It tells how busy they are for 40 days just isn't enough, but then this crap comes through. So anyway, HB 745 by Mabel Thomas, Georgia Dignity in Pregnancy and Childbirth Act. I read this and oh my God. Take it away, Jessica.
What do you mean?
It is the worst written piece of propaganda that I think I've ever read.
Was it the evidence-based implicit bias programs that got to you?
Yeah. All right, look, causation versus correlation. They're saying that women of color have a higher instance of dying in childbirth, but they don't.
Which may be true.
The numbers can be true. The conclusions are suspect. And again, this is not the role of government. This is between doctors and patients. There are so many factors that go into the mortality rates of expectant mothers that you can't just say that you're 30% more likely because you're black. There's 10,000 other things you have to look at, including drinking, smoking, drug use. It's a piece of garbage legislation that splits us into little groups based on skin color, and that just doesn't do us any good, because that's not what your skin color doesn't cause you to die during childbirth. It's just not. There's 10,000 other reasons that you're looking at that may run with different socioeconomic statuses or stati. Trying to sound smarter than I actually am.
No, I agree with you. I mean, well, and I think there's an interesting. This may sound petty or not petty, like nitpicking, but there's a difference between saying in 2019, 35%, or people of color or women of color were 35% more likely to die during childbirth. That is very true. Like, if you show me the numbers, then I'll agree with you. That doesn't necessarily mean next year will be the same. Like, it also completely ignores other factors when they say that people of color are more likely to get AIDS. Well, it doesn't mean that you're walking down the street and AIDS is sitting around the corner waiting for a person of color. It means that the math has weighed out that this is the way it is. So when we talk statistics, it is completely without bias. This is just what it is. And her bill here completely ignores it doesn't do anything. It doesn't do anything to help what's going on. And it's not like, there's somebody waiting in a maternity ward, like, okay, well, there's a woman of color, I'm gonna go kill her. That's not what's happening. It has to do with so many different factors that, one, Abel Mabel isn't qualified to understand. And two, the law doesn't address. It just allows her to go back to her constituents and say, look, I'm looking out for you. When I hear correlation versus causation, I'm insulted when I see that, because I say I'm insulted. It just pisses me off so much that you don't, especially in the government, you don't have the rest of the data to understand why there's this correlation. Did you know that 100% of people who die of cancer ride in a car? Right. So that's very there. And I believe that they just did the study committee on maternal mortality because that was a consolation prize to a lot of the Democrats after the heartbeat bill passed. So I wholly believe we have more data, and I guarantee you that having a little bit more data showed them how little data they actually have, and that's why there's this focus on collecting more information. But like you said, a lack of information does not equate to the answer to the question.
Right. Well, and that's just... It makes dumb people feel smart, to quote statistics. And that's just the way it is. Is when they want to say that this is the percentage, fine. But when you try to give causation to it, you sound really dumb. We do have some Senate pre-files that we're not going to get to this week because Matt Lowe pushed us long. So everybody collectively say into your device, Matt Lowe sucks. Jessica, your closing thoughts?
Well, I have a story, and I don't want to be rushed in it, so I'm going to save it.
Okay.
It's about Van Johnson, though, and he was sworn in mayor of Savannah, and yeah.
Yeah, I trolled.
That's my cliffhanger.
I trolled him last week, too.
Yes.
We need a moment of silence for the Julian Castro campaign.
That's not how you say it.
Julian?
You say it different.
Julian Castro.
Thank you.
First of all, he says America's not ready for a Spanish-speaking president, and he speaks less Spanish than I do. So, once again, America's been called racist because he was forced out, and that's really calling his own party racist for running him out. So, goodbye. Better luck next time. Bye, Julian. So, if you like what you heard, give us a thumbs up, like us, and share us on social media. Take whatever platform you use to listen to us, and give us the maximum amount of stars. And for Jessica Salaji, I'm Dave Roberts, and the absent Matthew Lowe. Have a great week and Happy New Year.